Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Movie Fandom Show. I'm your host, Matthew Kearns, and today we have the first ever returning guest on the show. You know him. Considering his episode is my highest viewed episode, you probably love him. It is the newest member of Take Three, I could say, Chris Clark. Chris, welcome back to the show.
I am ecstatic to talk about this movie. This is actually my second favorite movie of all time.
And that movie would, of course, be 1992's, to me, a classic, to Chris, a classic, to some, a what the fuck, Tim Burton, Batman Returns. So, Chris, as always, same thing I ask all my guests. When was the first time you saw this movie?
I actually saw Batman Returns. I think I saw Batman Returns before I saw King Kong. I saw Batman Returns when I was in, it had to have been, it was before first grade, obviously, and I was never afraid of it like most parents think that your children are afraid of the Penguin, and why the whole McDonald's ordeal that we'll talk about happened with the whole Happy Meal, and the parents not really thinking that this movie was appropriate for children. I never got that vibe. I never cried. I never was scared of Penguin. I was just fascinated. Just the story, it's so dark and grimacing, and even as a kid I was fascinated by this movie. When did you first see it, Matt?
This was a movie that, according to my parents, that they tried to show me once, and I just was like, when I was a little young, and I just like wasn't interested at all. Then I actually, I'd seen the first Tim Burton movie, big fan of it. I'd seen Batman and Robin, and at the time, at that age, really enjoyed it because I was like, I think it was in like second or third grade, and so for that elementary mindset, Batman and Robin was a good movie. And then I think this came on TV, and I just decided to watch it. And I specifically remember I got up to the part where it's after the first, the Triangle Circus Gang attack, and it's like Batman's walking away, and then it goes back to sleep. Kind of, I just remember my mom sitting on the computer, and I was watching on the TV, and I like turned it off. I was like, I'm so bored. Batman's not in this at all. Then later, I'm trying to remember when I first watched it I think it was after James Ralph of Cinemassacre. I watched his video series where he reviewed like all Batman movies, and I decided to give it another chance, and I really enjoyed it, especially since by that point I had already become a much bigger fan of the first Tim Burton film. I think that helped as well. So
yeah. It's interesting you say that, because Batman is not in this movie a lot. It's actually more of a Penguin movie. It's very focused on the villains, and that's kind of what Tim Burton always likes to focus on, is the outcast, the people that aren't respected by society. And it shows. This movie is a Tim Burton movie. It's not a Batman movie whatsoever.
And I think that's something. Yeah. I will say it is a Batman movie, but it is a Tim Burton Batman movie. But I think that's an interesting place before we even get into film to start off with. Is this movie came out today? I think the reception of it would be much better than it was. But in 1992, Tim Burton was really known for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the first Batman. I believe Edward Scissorhands was out by this point. Tim Burton, unless you had seen some of his animated shorts, to mainstream audiences was not this kooky director as Kevin Smith would present him as. He wasn't. Like, he seemed like a normal filmmaker. Okay, yeah, sure, Batman had a little gothic stuff, but you know what? Maybe that's just his style. This one is like a full-on Tim Burton movie. I feel like if it came out today, the reception would be a little bit better, but people were expecting the 1989 Batman film.
Yes.
And in a way they got it, in a way they didn't, because it is a good companion piece to the first Tim Burton film, but it is a less mainstream version.
It's kind of like the start of that whole, like how Kevin Smith would decide his kookiness. This is kind of the first Oh, actually, it was a Beetlejuice. Did Beetlejuice come out before
Oh,
this?
Beetlejuice came out before. Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, Beetlejuice came out in '88 because that was the whole thing about
Okay, yeah.
Keaton. I'm sorry, I completely forgot. Thank you, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason, so I think it was because Batman
hmm
was such a big mainstream success.
hmm
People, again, I
Yeah.
wasn't born until '97, so I can't tell you what the zeitgeist of
hmm
mainstream are. But from what I read and everything, it seems as if people, I guess rightfully so, they were expecting Batman '89 again. But what they got was a movie that was Batman
They got
'89,
they
except
got a
all the
character
Gothic
piece.
elements was turned up to 11.
Batman '89 is more of a it's kind of like an adaptation of some comic books, and it really feels like a comic book movie-esque. This is more of a character piece, and
Yeah.
that's the huge difference that people have to take away. This movie is much more a character piece. The rumor is that McDonald's pulled the Happy Meal toys right away off the shelves. The fact of the matter is, I still have vivid memories of McDonald's back in 1992. Um, that like I was 1 year old, but I still have bags, and I still have, and you could still find the Happy Meal toys on
Oh yeah,
eBay.
they're easily
Yeah, they're
obtainable.
easily
That's why
obtainable. So
yeah.
you would think that I don't know the exact time limit when they pulled it, but you would think that after um, if those Happy Meal toys were pulled off the shelves as soon as they were, they'd be a lot more expensive.
I don't
But they're really easier to find. I don't know
I
if
don't think they
that.
were
Yeah.
pulled off like immediately. I think it was something where
hmm
it was like they, of course, like any movie promotion, they were out a little bit before the movie, and then when the movie was
Yep.
still in theaters, they were there for a bit, and then they were pulled
hmm
because of the angry parents or whatever. But yeah, yeah,
hmm
like you were saying, like it's not like they. There is this misconception that McDonald's canceled their promotion because there are commercials, and the
hmm
fact of the matter is these toys are like, okay, I'm not sure what the price of these Happy Meal toys go for, but they are go on Amazon just like a
hmm
Batman Returns McDonald's. They're
Yeah,
fairly
it's
attainable.
fairly obtainable, and I guess we'll go right into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So this movie starts off with this whole flashback sequence to the childhood of the Penguin, which you at this time, Paul Rubens, who plays his father, was really big as Pee Wee Herman,
yep, and
and
he'd already worked at
yeah,
Tim Burton.
with Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and it's really odd to actually see in a comic book movie. Another thing why parents really despise this movie was it starts with literally a baby getting thrown into a sewer and being raised by penguins. It's really
Mm-hmm.
horrifying. The entire title sequence is, um, it sets the tone of the movie perfectly.
Yeah, the problem is people,
hmm
I don't think, were expecting this
hmm
tone whatsoever. Yeah. And then, of course, we're
Yeah.
introduced to at this point, the strangest Batman villain slash character to
hmm
ever be in a Batman movie, Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
All right, listen, I love Christopher Walken. Christopher
hmm
Walken is like from another planet, but in the
hmm
best way possible. But I watching this movie today, like it's just like he fits in with the story
He
very well,
does.
but he feels like he's from a different movie. Like,
Well,
and I love this scene between him and Bruce Wayne when
mhm,
they're talking about the power plant. Like, I love that,
mhm.
and I love him by the end of the movie with that whole,
Yep.
which we'll get to. But like, I still couldn't help watching it, being like, because to be honest, he's kind of the main villain of the movie.
He orchestrates the whole mayoral thing, the whole Cobblepot for mayor, so he can cover his
I
tracks and
mean,
not
the
worry about
Penguin gets defeated like that, and then he's still left standing, especially since
yeah.
Catwoman is more of an
Yeah,
anti-hero.
and he
He's the
actually
main
has,
villain of the movie, and
and we'll get into this, but he's also the reason why Catwoman exists too. So he's kind of
that's
like
true.
the puppeteer of this entire thing.
Yeah, he
And
just
actually, fun fact about this is he was actually supposed to be Billy D. Williams's uh, Harvey Dent in the original script. That was supposed to be Harvey Dent. And at the end of the movie, Harvey Dent was supposed to turn into Two-Face. That all got axed, obviously. And it's a shame because
why'd
that
you
would have been
say
really
that?
cool. That would have been really, really cool.
Especially considering poor Billy D.
Mhm.
Williams has said multiple times the only reason why he did the first '89 Batman film was because he wanted to play Two-Face.
Exactly.
And then by the time they got to Batman Forever, and Joe Schumacher came
Yeah.
in and kind of changed ship, and everyone was recast,
hmm
they didn't bring back Billy D. Williams.
Which was a shame.
God.
Yeah, that's a different conversation
Oh.
about Batman Forever
But I
and that
wonder,
piece of crap. Yeah.
now I'm just wondering, since you bring that up,
Mhm.
do you know, was Harvey Dent doing the same things that Matt
I feel
Schreck
like
was doing, or?
it was supposed to be. It was obviously not directed towards a power plant. It was more political because he's district attorney, so it would have been more political.
That's
Like, yeah.
interesting, just because knowing the
hmm
character of Harvey Dent from the comics, and especially his relationship with Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne, it would seem out of place for him to be like, Harvey Dent isn't really, again,
Mhm.
Tim Burton's interpretation, but Harvey Dent isn't really
Mhm.
known for doing those types of
They
things.
could have made it work.
Maybe it's best that they didn't do it, because I probably would be really pissed off about
Yeah.
it.
But the thing is, too, is after you're introduced to Max Schreck, you're introduced to Selena Kyle, played by the great Michelle Pfeiffer. And
Yes.
I would say that. Would you consider this to be the best interpretation of Catwoman?
Well, okay, let's go through the interpretations we have. We, of course, have Julie Newmar from the
Mhm.
'66 film, who was fantastic.
Andre Romano.
She's really good. And then we have Anne Hathaway, who
Mhm.
I think played a really good character, but they're all the thing is, they're all completely different interpretations of this character.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like comparing the Batman. It's which one do you like more?
Yeah.
I personally, I like this interpretation the
Mhm.
best out of all the Catwomen, but
Yep. Well, yeah, and then the way she kind of goes about, she starts off as this clumsy secretary, and then she turns into this seductress. The thing is, after the whole scene with her tasing the clown, and the fun fact, you first see Batman in like the first 10 minutes of the movie, and then there's like 30 minutes where you
great
don't see
sequence,
him.
by the way.
It's a great fight sequence at the beginning. But then you get introduced to the Penguin. Max Schreck, he escapes the whole carnage after his speech. He goes into the sewers, and he gets encountered by what I consider to be one of the best comic book villains ever, is Danny DeVito's interpretation of the Penguin. He just eats up every scene he is in. His costuming is glorious. His makeup is amazing, and the bile in his mouth, and oh my God, he steals this entire movie, and he's the best part. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Oh, he's great. I mean,
Yeah.
Burgess Meredith is still my favorite Penguin
hmm
personally, but he's really good, and he's different. He's not the Penguins from the comics
No.
whatsoever, but it's interesting. That's what I
hmm
could say. It's I enjoy Danny DeVito in this film. He's not my favorite part of it. That's still Michael
hmm
Keaton, which we'll get to,
hmm
but he does a really good job, and the makeup is something to marvel at.
And costuming too. The thing is with Penguin though is he's not the intellectual in this movie. Yeah, he's really just Killer Croc in this entire movie. He grew up in the sewers. He's this monster, this outcast, and yeah, he's kind of mixed. And it's a mix between the Burgess Meredith Penguin because of the walks and how he talks, and there's just this his entire plot in this entire movie is really chilling. His plot is to kill the firstborn sons of Gotham City. Again, I can see where the parents are like, this isn't Batman 1966. This isn't even Batman 1989. But that whole plot makes so much sense when you realize that this man has been taken away from high society, off of his will, out of his will, treated like an outcast. It's established at the beginning that the newspapers call him the creepy penguin man from the sewers. You feel for this guy. And he's not like this two-dimensional villain. Even when he's saying he's going to be killing sleeping children, you feel for him because he's been wronged.
You know,
Yeah.
you say that, and I'm like, you know what? I do feel for you.
Mm-hmm.
But the minute you start saying you're going to break into people's houses and kill defenseless infants, I
I'm
don't
trying to cut him
know.
a little bit of slack.
I get Chris. I get you
Yeah.
and Penguin, but as Jean-Luc Picard would say, the line must be drawn here, no further. So that's where I draw the line of like compassion for
Yeah.
you. And of course, the only person who's thinking non-violent thought would be Michael Keaton's fantastic interpretation of
Exactly.
Batman. I mean, Ben Affleck is wonderful. Christian
Mhm.
Bale has great moments. Val Kilmer, I actually don't hate, and George Clooney is interesting. Adam
George
West,
Clooney
rest
was
in
a good,
peace.
yeah.
He was the first, so well,
George
technically he wasn't, but
Clooney was a great Bruce Wayne. Val Kilmer was a great Batman. Michael Keaton is great at both.
yes,
He really
and that's
steal,
why.
yeah.
That's why to me, and I know I don't care. It's my show. That's why Ben Affleck to me is the second best because he's still the best Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne and Batman.
Yeah, and Michael Keaton just juggles that so well. In fact, in this movie, he's mostly Bruce Wayne, and that's just fine and
It's
dandy.
perfect.
Yeah, and when he's Batman, he hardly has any lines, which is beautiful.
It's
Like
fine.
it's an artistic choice. Yeah.
I mean, the relationship that Bruce Wayne
Mm-hmm.
has with Selina Kyle in this movie is just
Mhm.
wonderful, and it feels so. That's what I love about this is that
Mhm.
they're kind of two similar people, and Bruce thinks maybe he can help her, and
Mhm.
it's great. And I mean, him as Batman is just like there's something about just the costume and just the voice that is so intimidating. I mean, this movie also features my favorite Batman moment out of any TV show, movie, video game, what have you, which is
Mhm.
You're not just saving a life. You're saving a... Shut up. You're going to jail.
it was a Batman moment of just like,
Mhm.
you're a big baddie. You're a lot smarter. You're going to prison, dude. I'm not going to just let you walk out of here. Oh, God. I love that.
And after Max Shrek and Penguin meet, you get the whole origin of Catwoman in this whole 8-minute sequence where she basically
She's reborn.
it's bookended. It's bookended by you see the klutzy secretary go into the apartment. You see Max Shrek intimidate her and throw her out the window. You see her get revived by cats, which is a very big bone of contention in this movie, where she gets
Very
revived by
creepy scene, I'll say that.
and then she comes back into her apartment and Catwoman is born. This whole 8-minute sequence, the music, which we'll talk about the soundtrack later, but this whole entire Catwoman origin, although it has nothing to do with the comics, it is very fantastical. It just brings another layer to the whole theme of the movie, which is the outcast wanting revenge on who made her that way.
Yeah, this is something scene I remember from when I was a kid, and the second time I watched it was just like when she starts stuffing all the stuffed animals into the shredder. I remember like, oh, because I was a little kid, and I was
and then
like,
she like jabs it
yeah,
into
it's
the
actually
sewer.
to be honest, it's a fairly sad scene because you see that like Selina Kyle was not a bad person. She was like shoved and pushed around, but she was a relatively nice person. Now she's like crazy. And then we get this scene, if memory is serving me correctly, we get the scene of the attempted like kidnapping of the mayor's child. And so to make Penguin look like this great hero, he saves the child from this evil Red Triangle Circus gang guy, and that sort of starts.
It's actually ingenious how they brought that in, because it shows that Penguin, it's ironic because it bookends what happened at the beginning. A child is going to the sewer, but now he's saved by the actual child who was left in the sewer. It's very, very, very poetic for that point in the movie. And that's where he begins to gain the public's trust.
And that's also where he begins to catch the eye of Bruce Wayne, who's like, there's something off about it. And I love that moment when Bruce Wayne is watching on TV and Alfred is hanging the ornaments, and he's just like, oh, you know, what's wrong, Master Wayne's like, oh, no, I just hope this guy finds out who his parents are. And just in the way Keane delivers that and the look he's giving is like, there's something up about you, and I'm
And,
gonna figure it out.
in this middle part of the movie, you don't really see a lot of Batman or Bruce Wayne. It's more focused on Penguin and Shrek. This portion is where he goes to the Hall of Records, and at that point, you don't know why he's at the Hall of Records.
There is that great scene when he's at the Hall of Records, and you see names, and he's writing something down. You get Batman driving the Batmobile, and he gives Penguin the look of like, I'm watching you, fucker.
Yep.
And you also get Alfred on the intercom like, are you still looking up at that strange penguin person? Batman's like, yes, Alfred, shut up. But I love that. That shot is just, okay, listen. Batman doesn't drive around the Batmobile all the time. I know he's usually on foot, but it's a fantastic shot of him just roaming the streets in the Batmobile and just stopping, and just like the look of just like, yeah, now I know there's really something up about you. And just the way that like Penguin gives them, you're like,
it's very atmospheric, which is a great way to describe the movie. It's very atmospheric. It feels like a stage play. And
that's how I've heard it been described before a lot of times, because there are very few sets. The soundtrack is very operatic. It's definitely. I mean, then we get the scene, Bruce Wayne looking up Red Triangle Gang, and you see newspaper clippings about children going missing, and a strange penguin boy suddenly disappears before he could be questioned. Then we get the scene, Max Shrek and Bruce Wayne having the meeting. Great scene, great Bruce Wayne businessman, and then you get that great, just again Keaton Silvery of like, I know penguins, I know Cobblepot is connected with Red Triangle. I can't prove it. You and me both know it's true.
And this is where Shrek it's revealed that Selena Kyle survived, and this
great
scene
of her playing Shrek, and Shrek not sure what to do, and her just like demeanor with him is completely different. Like she's like, "Come on, Maximilian, don't wear it out," and you're just like, and just Christopher Walken does give a great performance here of just like, Selena, back from your trip. How she plays it's just total amnesia. Like she's like, yeah, we're BSing for a Bruce Wayne, but I know you pushed me out of a window. You know you pushed me out of a window.
And Shrek has a great line at the end where he's like, if she tries to make a fool out of me, I'm going to drop her out a higher window. But for now, I have bigger fish to fry.
Also get the beginnings of Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle's relationship here, which is Bruce is just completely infatuated with her. And there's a great scene where I don't remember the exact exchange of lines, but where Bruce like trips over her line, his speech, and then she tries to correct him, but he thinks she's correcting him. It's a very cute play on words scene.
And there's a cute little thing with Alfred where he's telling Alfred to make an excuse for her, and she's telling Alfred to make an excuse for him.
Oh, and that's their first date when they're watching on the TV, the ceremony, and there's the great thing where it's like, but I think that comes a lot later, because I think first
that comes later. I mixed those two up.
We get Batman, we get Catwoman going on her first rampage, attacking. We get Penguin looking at stuff, and we get Batman. We get that great trifecta moment where it's Batman and Penguin are talking, and then Catwoman comes flipping in, then meow, and then the explosion.
There's actually that happens, but before that you actually get which actually we're talking about the comic book adaptation. There's this whole sequence where Penguin is eating the raw fish, and they actually make him the actual candidate for mayor, where he bites the guy's nose.
Strange scene.
Yep, I know. And then there's this whole notion of where that they actually deleted this from the movie. There's a scene where Penguin and the Red Triangle Gang actually acquire the plans for the Batmobile. So this whole rampage where he meets Catwoman and he sees Penguin is supposed to be a decoy, while they go to the Batmobile and rig it and mess it up.
But it's a great sequence. I mean, it's just Penguin and Batman's exchange are just like, what are you doing here? Surveying mayoral stuff. You're not the mayor. Not yet. And, it's so fantastic. And then, of course, we get the scene with Batman in the screwed up Batmobile, and
which is a great sequence.
Chase through, and the cops are going after him, and it's just like, It's a great sequence. It is. It's
Go for it.
It's half a great sequence and half a WTF sequence. The sequence that's great is Batman trying to get the controls back, breaking the screen with Penguin. The WTF moment is not only
Penguin's in an arcade.
Yeah, Penguin. I would be fine if he had a joystick son, but the fact that he has a full-on, what looks like a promotion for Batman Returns the arcade machine at your local arcade, that's where I go.
Yep.
Damn, what are you doing, man?
You have this 300-pound gorilla inside this tiny Batmobile, and it looks ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's the odd things that sometimes Tim Burton comes up with that actually make it kind of. It gives it a comedy element that you need in this dark tone.
Yeah, it does, but
it's still what
I hate saying this. It feels like a below the belt comedy moment. Like it's just weirdness for weirdness' sake, just to get a laugh. So then
this is where they kidnap the Ice Princess.
Yep.
And she's tied up on the roof.
Oh, see, we keep messing up the order of this stuff because that happens right before he jumps into the car. And correct?
Yeah, that's correct. What happens?
Because that's why the cops are chasing him. Yeah, we get this great sequence of it's Batman is up on the rooftop and he just had a fight with Catwoman, I believe.
Yes.
Which is I believe it's the kitty litter part.
Yes.
And then he goes up there and then there's Penguin has the umbrella, he throws it, it opens and then
the bats
come out and then they make it look like what's Batman done? Then we get this fantastic shot of Batman opening up the gliders, falling down and gliding. Oh, God,
which makes it this is the kind of illogical part of the movie is people think that he did it. So why would he glide down to make it look like it just seemed really menacing.
I don't know. He's trying to escape because there's the cops are coming after him and it's why does Batman run at the end of the Dark Knight? Batman sometimes just does weird shit.
Sometimes you don't need any logic.
It doesn't. Yeah. So then
after that happens, it's the whole revelation that Penguin duped everybody. That whole speech where you hear the recording over the loudspeaker.
And he uses it, and that's when everyone turns on Cobblepot.
Yep. Why do they always bring eggs and tomatoes to a speech? And
that's a weird scene. You also get the weird moment of Bruce Wayne like doing the whole like record scratch, like. Like okay, but
I don't know why they did that 90s thing. So then Penguin actually escapes the angry mob and he goes back into the sewer, and this is where he goes, you don't call me Oswald Cobblepot anymore, you call me Penguin.
And this is also where it reveals the plan where he's like on New Year's Eve when all the parents are out partying, we'll steal the babies. And then there's the one guy who was like, do we like really need to do this? And then he gets shot. Just killed.
Isn't this a little? No, it's a lot. Then he pushes him into the water. It's this is where the movie actually, for some people, gets really insane because this is where Penguin puts radioactive missiles on top of actual penguins.
This is also where there's a giant train traveling through Gotham City. And apparently, everyone in Gotham on New Year's Eve is at this exclusive invite-only party at Max Shrek's. Like, there's no one who's just, like, watching It's a Wonderful Life with their family in the house. No, everyone is at this party.
I think he actually made it clear that it's actually the firstborn sons of the wealthiest people in Gotham.
Oh, see, I didn't.
Yeah, so it's not everybody in Gotham. It's the wealthiest. Well, it's the high class.
Maybe it's not everyone in Gotham, but what I am saying is there's a giant train.
Yeah,
you're telling me no one looked out their window and thought, like, I mean, we should call the cops about this.
That's one big pedomobile, you know?
But we do get the great, so we go to the party and there's, and the great thing is that it's apparently like a costume party, but Bruce shows up in just a tux and Selena shows up in just a dress, so they stand out very well. I think that was a very, it was symbolically for the movie, the fact that two people who wear masks all the time now are not wearing the masks, or are they? And also just helps visually to have them stand out when everyone is wearing a big, crazy mask for them to be the only normal-looking people.
And then they find out that each other is...
Through a very interesting...
Clever, it's clever.
It's a callback to a scene when it was Batman and Catwoman talking about mistletoe and it's deadly if you eat it, and then Catwoman saying a kiss is deadlier if you mean it, and they exchange the lines, and then they pull back, and they're like, uh-oh. And then they go back in, and the great scene where she's like, what do we do? Do we start fighting now? Although, I keep messing this up because before that, there's the scene when she's talking about how she's not there for him, and then she has the gun, and Michelle Pfeiffer has a great moment of just like, they're dancing, they turn, and she's laughing, and then she starts crying.
The whole reason why we're messing this all up, some of this up, is because what we don't realize is how intricate this entire story is.
Very intricate.
People underestimate that. People just think it's a cookie cutter comic book movie. It is very intricate. It's a theater production. Yeah.
There's a lot of long scenes, and I think that's why we mess it up. But but then of course we get Bruce and Selina are about to kind of walk away, and then kaboom, there's Penguin there to take away Gotham's favorite son.
And one of the best lines is, "You didn't invite me, so I crashed." And then he comes in and he gets Shrek. He was originally
he tries to take Chip, but then Shrek sacrifices himself. Yeah. Oh, what a noble person Shrek is. Yeah. So then, of course, Selina and Bruce go to, do their superhero things, and we wind up with first a great sequence of all the penguins. They have the bombs. They're going to attack. Batman is able to get in and to disrupt all of it. And there's also the great scene of it's him going down the cell. There are two penguins with the bombs. He does this kind of ski turn around and just gives a great very subtle. Oh God! I was almost killed by penguins. What am I doing?
Yeah, that's one of the best moments in the movie. Actually, his subtle little face.
And he doesn't even say anything. It's just you get the look of he's like, how am I doing in my life? But then of course we get this great scene of just like there's all penguins people, and you get the one woman very creepily, but she's talking about how close Batman is getting.
He's getting
how the
close.
Penguins are now dispersing, and then they all start
to fade out,
and
it's really theatrical.
Comes in. Yes, it's very theatrical. Where it's very like it's setting up the mano-a-mano battle, and Batman gets in. Penguin is of course running away. Batman is able to get the ski to sort of jump out, and then there's this great thing where Penguin thinks he's got Batman with all the penguins. He pushes the button, but then Batman has changed some of that. Now they attack him, and it's great.
And then the bats come and swoop around Penguin. He says, "My babies!" And then he falls back through the window, and he falls into the sewer thing. Now people don't know how Penguin. Yeah.
Basically, Penguin is, for all intents and purposes, is out for kind of until the very end. So now we get Max Shrek, who has escaped from his prison cell. There's Selina, who is just so destroyed, and I love that about how every scene you see Catwoman, her costume is a little bit more ripped. It's just as she's deteriorating. Then we get, of course, we have my favorite scene, which is the show up you're going to jail. But then we get the great moment of Batman talking to Selina, and then Bruce talking, and you get the great. Okay. Now, it is one of the biggest superhero flubs, which is he has the black eye makeup. Then he doesn't have the black eye makeup, but it is a great shot of him he pulls the mask off, and you get one of the dumbest, half dumbest lines, greatest lines in the movie, which is, Bruce Wayne, why are you dressing up like Batman? Because he is Batman. And then every other villain in a Batman movie, even when he's basically exposed, you shoot him in the chest.
Yeah.
Regardless. But then we get
the Penguin's death. He comes out.
Oh no, we don't get the Penguin's death.
Not yet.
First we had Bruce. Selina is almost going to go, but then she decides we can't. Then we get the shot, and then we get Selina and we get Selina and Shrek and their whole thing of her shooting him, and her she plays it so well, just 4 more still alive, and then All the
That scene.
It's very creepy, but then we get that she has the taser from the beginning, and then the how about a kiss Santa Claus? She grabs it. We have Bruce standing up, and then it's all big explosion, really beautiful, and then Bruce pulling the stuff. We see Shrek's burnt carcass, and then we see the penguin rise from the water. The music is now swelling. Michael Keaton gives an amazing turn to look at him. He grabs the umbrella, and then
it's a cute one. It's the cute one, and then he dies. Yeah, but the thing is, he has all this blood gushing from his mouth. I think it was all the internal injuries from the fall and all the sewage coming into his body while he was underwater.
The penguins come and they almost a Viking funeral-esque thing of just a burial at sea, and then we have Bruce just kind of, just it fades to black, and then we have this, to me, what is one of the most underrated scenes in a Batman movie.
I would agree too.
The very end of this movie, which is it's Bruce. He's sitting in the car, in the back of the car. Now Alfred's driving, and they're just kind of talking. And then Bruce sees what looks to be the shadow of Catwoman. He runs out, stop the car, Alfred, and he sees it's just a cat. And he picks up the cat, and he kind of just looks around. And he sits back in the car, and and Alfred just knows he's very upset, and he just kind of still driving, but just goes, well, come what may. Merry Christmas, Mr. Wayne. Goodwill to all men and women. And then we have this, I love this shot of just with the music and everything, just so you see the car and it just sort of pulls up to the bat signal, and we get what was the insert shot, which is not Michelle Pfeiffer, of Catwoman standing up, because originally
it's not a human
Catwoman movie in the 90s, but it never happened.
It's not a human. They actually created a animatronic Catwoman head. The thing is too is the ending of this movie is fantastic. It kind of brings the whole movie full circle. It actually is technically a Christmas movie if you think about it.
Technically, it's kind of like how Die Hard is said to be a Christmas movie, even though both were released in the summer. But what can you do?
And we haven't talked enough about Danny Elfman's score throughout this entire movie. His themes, it's fantastic. I think the thing is
it's kind of like how when you look at the original Star Wars trilogy or something or Jaws, it's like sometimes you just don't mention John Williams' score because it speaks so much for itself. You don't need to. So, Chris, what are your final wrapping up thoughts on Batman Returns?
Well, Batman Returns, I still consider to be the best comic book movie ever made, my second favorite film of all time. Batman Returns has so much magic, personality, atmosphere, lighting, character development, passion. This is a passion project for Tim Burton. You may think it doesn't feel like a Batman movie. That's a fair point. You may think, like one of our friends, that the Catwoman story kind of brings the movie down. That might be a bit of a fair point, but I don't think so. I know Matt doesn't think so. But this movie overall was a fantastic experience. It's enriching, and it feels like you're watching a stage play on the screen.
For me, I am always more of a Batman '89 fan, but to me, the Tim Burton films, I think, are loads better than the Dark Knight trilogy. And I really do enjoy the Dark Knight trilogy, but there's something about, and it really, it comes down to sometimes one performance. Keaton's performance in these movies, just how he plays Bruce Wayne and Batman and how he juggles it is just something wonderful. And that's why the scene that I talked about at the very end works, because Keaton makes it work. So what are your thoughts on Batman Returns? Please, as always, comment them below and let me know. Chris, where can the good people find you?
You can find me at ChrisClark8788 on Twitter, and you can also find me on YouTube at No Man's Land Entertainment. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for having me, Matt.
No problem. You are always welcome back, Chris. And as always, you guys can find me at Turns_Matthew on Twitter, MattMovies611 on YouTube, and right here hosting Movie Fandom Show every other Wednesday. Seriously, thank you guys. And as always, remember to keep loving movies. Take care.